Hey everyone, and welcome back to a different kind of video. So I decided to put a week worth of workout into an Excel sheet and to use various formulas to calculate things for me. So the main goal that I had of creating this was to make sure that I am putting sufficient volumes into the categories that I want or that I need to put in. So I did a very simplistic program, nothing that's too crazy, but I could change the exercises week to week. Each week will kind of be the same, and I can adjust whatever I want with them. But this is kind of the general parameters. So 7 days a week of training, which is always what I do, and various exercises on various days that seem logical in its function, but I can basically change whatever I want since it's obviously my own thing. But over here, it gives me the average weight from the average of the sets that I did there. With the average percentage, that percentage is of the 1 rep max. So even if I'm doing a hang snatch below the knee, the average will be of whatever my 1 rep max is up here. And all these numbers are very conservative. And I kind of just tried to base them off of one, what I've done lately, but also what is something I could probably consistently do. Like I can do 125, 150 most of the time. If I'm trying to calculate it based on something above that, then it becomes more inconsistent. So trying to keep it more conservative with those numbers for the most part. The tonnage here, that's also pretty simple. It just calculates the volume of the sets that I did, times that by the reps of completed for each set, and then it gives the tonnage. So for this particular workout, if I did just singles at these weights, it would give me a tonnage of 500 pounds. All of these are obviously, I mean, I guess kilos. I didn't really think about it. And they're all in kilos. Oh, everything's in kilos. Now that I'm saying that, it's kind of, the tonnage makes it seem like a lot more, because now I'm actually realizing that I put everything in kilos and not pounds. But anywho, whether it's kilos or pounds, it's kind of irrelevant because they're just numbers on the screen. But you can see like the volume on these different things go up or down depending on what that particular exercise is. And if, for instance, on this day I did singles here, if I change this to here, it drops that tonnage because it's based on how many reps I did there. So the sets over here doesn't really, it's just for my reference, but the sets here I can add in as much and it will automatically calculate that. I'll probably will keep things mostly the same week to week just to make the formulas a bit easier. But what this will kind of allow me to do through these different workouts is to make sure that I have sufficient variety and different zones of intensity in these different workouts and exercise selection. I think I kind of already said that, but to have these specified workouts that I'm basically already doing, like this workout here with muscle snatch that's really light. Usually I haven't been doing those, but like snatch balance, snatch push press, and then some sort of jerk work. Usually it's been behind the neck jerk work that I've done with those. So like that's a very similar workout that I've done a couple times. And so that's why I wanted to have these kind of in here just to kind of measure the volume that I'm actually doing in those workouts and to be able to potentially progress those, but more so to make sure that, say, like this jerk volume is higher than my snatch and my clean volume because it's my weakest of the 3 movements. Make sure my squat volume's high just because my legs are weak. Make sure my pull volume is relatively lower because my pull is not a weakness. And the pressing volume is also high because, again, the upper body is a weakness. So it's kind of just allowing me to more objectively measure, and I'll still change things. I can say I did not do this exactly how it's here. I did actually do each of these exercises, but the actual weights and reps I did change with those. But what that will allow me to do, so I've already created a copy, which will be nice because then I won't have to worry about fixing the formulas. I can just enter in the numbers since that won't really change anything. But I did 100, 110, 1,000. So here, 115, and then 120. Now what is going to be a little bit tricky is this 120, I missed it the first time, but did it the second time. So in my mind, I think I should potentially calculate that volume because I did the attempt, but for now I won't, just because it seems a bit too convoluted to do that. And like here, I did do 105 and then 120, 140. I actually did 143 times. You can see how it's pretty similar to that tonnage, so it's not going to really change a lot. Then I did 160, and then here is what's tricky as well, is I missed 160 twice, but how am I going to calculate that? Because it's like one was closed and one wasn't closed. So, it becomes a little difficult and subjective. So it's easier probably just to always not count misses, even if they are difficult. Unless it's like a clean, then you can calculate the clean volume and not for the jerk if you do miss that. So that's probably what I'll do. And then what did I do, like 100? Or I'm kind of guessing at this point. But this is what's going to be tricky as well, is I did 100 for like 2 triples or 1 triple, I think. I forget how many reps that I did. So, to keep it simple, I could just put it in like that. Even though I did a triple, I'm not too particularly concerned about, my triples with 100, making sure that's calculated precisely. But if I wanted to make sure that the average weight or the average intensity wasn't messed up, I could make another category. But honestly, like if you did 3 reps here, it would kind of calculate pretty similar to that. But as the tonnages do add up, it changes the numbers that are down here. So then I would be able to see that my jerk volume went down a little bit from that first workout from where it started. So then I could potentially do something else to add in a little bit extra jerk volume. When I'm calculating volumes, the jerk volume is either clean and jerk, front squat plus jerk, or jerk. Stuff like push presses and overhead presses obviously go into the pressing volume. And then when I'm calculating stuff like clean volume, that's clean and jerks or cleans, but I don't have any just cleans by themselves. So the jerks kind of get doubled up, but that kind of makes sense in my head. If I'm calculating a tonnage, if I'm doing a power clean and jerk, that counts as a volume for those 2 separate exercises, even if you are doing them together. To me, that was one of the problems with the weightlifting AI stuff, because I just got a message a couple weeks ago from Dan Kent, who is one of the people that runs Weightlifting House, asking, why I canceled the membership or canceled the programming. And that was one of the things I mentioned, is that if I, for instance, I did a power clean and I successfully did a 113 power clean and I missed the jerk, there's no way to tell the app that I missed the jerk, because that'd be a pretty easy thing for the app to kind of figure out. But with me, I've kind of have put it in to calculate that volume there, at least to make sure that it is in there. And then if I have misses, then I will have to figure that out, because clean jerk misses are going to be a little bit weird to put in, but I'll figure that out. So it's basically just the programming that I was going to do anyway, like the exercise selection I would generally do, but it kind of forces me to be more objective with what I'm doing and to make small adaptations. So like on this jerk day, when I miss those 160s, to get additional volume at 100, even though it's really light. And then on these days, like I was doing these singles with front squats, and I think I missed 175, but then I dropped down to 90 kilos to do a set of 5 and a set of 10. So it just allows me to kind of just accrue more volume in the week, but also to get it into the areas that I feel like I need to get them in more. So this allows me to measure things a lot more. And then if I'm looking into the second week a bit, it's obviously the same because it's just a copy right now, but I'm able to manipulate the different exercises while keeping the workouts generally the same. And yeah, so I can have up to 10 sets depending on what I want to do. I don't know if I mentioned this in the previous recording because I recorded this once already, but the intensity that I start recording at for most exercises, of course I click the one that I don't do that in, which is muscle snatches. But for most normal exercises, the volume that I start to calculate is at 70% of whatever my 1 rep max is. So for even like a snatch balance, I'm basing that off my actual snatch, same with snatch push press. But for a couple movements like muscle snatch, I don't have that on the board up here, so I just have it at 50%, but I still calculate the volume in terms of snatches. That's the only exception. The rest are 70% or above, and that's just to make it a simple measure for the most part. But muscle snatches do kind of count, but I suppose if I was being really objective and I wanted to have it only 70%, what would the muscle snatch have to be at? Let's calculate that now. It would have to be at 75 kilos, so, or it'd have to be at 88 kilos, which is a very maximal muscle snatch. Even though I just recently PR'd, doing anything close to 90 is very maximal. So I'm not worried about calculating that. And honestly, it's not going to be a ton of volume that I'm accounting for anyway. Like on this day, it's a couple singles there, and then on this day, singles at those weights. So it's very minimal 219 kilos of tonnage, and the intensity of it's pretty low. Also just use as warm-up. Anywho, I'm a bit rambly here. Hopefully this video makes a bit of sense, but I think someone asked me recently about, if I'm on a program and I kind of just fly by the seat of my pants, and I was thinking about that comment more, and thinking like I should just, and my roommate kind of mentioned this before, he's like, you should just make an Excel sheet, because I made one for one of his workouts, and let's see if I can get that pulled up here. So I made a little workout for him, and that was kind of where I get the inspiration to kind of make one for myself as well. This is a very simple one, just 4 days a week, and mostly just to get him back into training. Um, the intensities and stuff like him, I'm not worried about like calculating the volumes and stuff, but I mostly just wanted to get him something that I knew he would be able to do and kind of adhere to, and then kind of adjust things as we go and manipulate these volumes. And now that I'm looking at this, I don't like how all those percentages have all those zeros at them, but very simplistic one for him. So nothing that's going to be too crazy for him to be able to complete. Mine is obviously much more intense because I train much more aggressively, but that kind of makes sense for myself. But anyhow, that's it for this one. So this will be a little bonus video. Continue to do obviously the normal workout videos, but the first one, so the day one of this program, will be the next day's video. So you'll see all these exercises, but different weights than are listed here. And these days aren't really, that's what's going to be tricky, is like tracking this. It's like the days don't really matter because it's just arbitrary, just to split up individual workouts. And also the weeks aren't going to matter too much because, again, those are relatively arbitrary because I just want to generally progress and make sure that things are going up. So there's not really like a plan to deload, or it's not like a long-term structure program. It's mostly just to allow me to train the same way that I have been, but to measure things more objectively. But yeah, that's it for this one. So hopefully you enjoy this, and hopefully I can kind of adhere to this kind of Excel sheet for the most part and start to track volumes, because I think that will be kind of the big thing to be able to do. I could potentially, as well, before I wrap up here, track the potential average intensity of the volume, but I would have to get the total repetitions and divide by that to get the average weight, and then get that divided by the 1 rep maxes at the top to give my average intensity for the overall week, which is something that I could potentially work on. It would just take a little bit more calculations, although I do kind of have the sets kind of populated here. So I would just have to get the sets. I'm kind of thinking out loud, but I have to get the sets calculated by the reps or the average weights here. Something. I would have to figure out some formula that makes sense, because I wouldn't want to just take these averages out, or I don't know. I have to think about it, but I'm not going to try to worry about doing that in the middle of this video. It's already long enough as it is. So yeah, that's it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you are curious, or if you want me to just share this, I can make a community post potentially where it allows you to download this to make a copy of it. If you wanted to look at it, it's nothing really that crazy. As you can see here, it's pretty basic stuff. But yeah, that's it for this one. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll talk to you all in the next one. Peace.